Okay, I'll stop. No, I got the song stuck in your head for the rest of the day, right? All right, key issue three. It's not very long. It's only got one slide. Really, why is access to folk and pop culture unequal? Kind of what we talked about in key issue two. It all comes down to money. Pop is about buying things, selling things. Uh, Folk culture is obviously more about spreading things through traditions and through family stories and so forth. As we get richer and richer in pop societies, we obviously have more disposable income and can buy things. This chart is just showing how ideas are spread mainly through particular pop culture. We watch a lot of TV, obviously, and so these ideas and songs and products and shoes and soft drinks and whatever we see in TV and movies. But look what's the second largest there, these socializing and communicating. Word of mouth still plays a big role in what is spread around. You hear it from friends, you hear it from family members about the next popular shoe, the next popular video game, or popular Taylor Swift song, or whatever it might be. Key issue four, why do folk and pop culture face sustainability challenges? Does the diffusion of pop culture threaten the survival of folk culture and environment? We'll get to that on the next slide with cultural imperialism, but the answer is yes. You got to remember, LDCs are not rich. They can't really fend off these attacks by pop culture societies. And going back to my earlier question about why the terrorists hate us, this plays a big role. They strongly oppose our values, particularly when it comes to women. Women's rights to vote, women's rights to go to work, even go to school. They believe that's threatening them. And so they feel that their traditional values are threatened, and that's why they feel they must stop us and attack us. If you remember, they attack civilians, they blame us for the policies of the government. And the theory is if they scare us or terrorize us enough, we'll actually vote for somebody else, when in reality it probably has the opposite effect. Cultural imperialism, the dominance by one culture over another, potentially extinguishing all others. First with language, which we'll get into next chapter, but they fear, and it actually is happening, that as we bombard them with our fast food and our music and our movies, that their culture is going to go away. The way we treat women, the way we treat you, the youth, we target you, we glorify what you guys want and need and listen to and so forth because you guys are the next generation buying all of the products. And so they target you. Violence in movies. All of this stuff is threatening these cultures. They're isolated and rural, and particularly LDCs. Here's the problem. It creates a uniform landscape, which we'll get to on the next slide. But they feel that if they lose their traditional values, they'll become too much like us. And culture is something that people will always defend as hard as they can. Pop culture threatens folk culture by being less responsive to the diversity of local environments. Yeah, McDonald's, they may make a teriyaki burger to sell in Japan, but at the end of the day, the bottom line is income, and they're trying to make as much money as they can for their shareholders. Ultimately, all of this will create the uniform landscape. Unfortunately, that's our cultural landscape. We have everything the same. Remember the analogy I gave you guys earlier in the year when you're driving down I-80 and you get off the exits, 300 miles apart, you always see the same thing. You see a Best Western, you see a Chevron, you see a McDonald's, a Taco Bell, and a Wendy's. You drive 300 miles down the road, and what do you see? The exact same thing. Our cultural landscape is a uniform landscape where everything is the same. We get fast food, we get cheap hotels. We, as Americans, we like this. We like to get off of a highway exit and find that there is a Best Western there because we're comfortable with it. We've seen it before. We're comfortable with going to McDonald's because we've seen it before. We know what we're going to get. It's always going to taste the same. It's cheap. That's unfortunately the American way. Do you see this in LDCs where there are uniform landscapes? They don't. And that's what they're trying to fight off. Transnational corporations and a landscape pollution, if you will, of signs everywhere that are exactly the same. Speaking of McDonald's, this is the farthest away you can ever get from McDonald's is 115 miles, and that's in the middle of Nevada. I believe it's along Highway US 50 if you've ever been out there in the middle of nowhere. there's always going to be a McDonald's. Look at the East. Although it would be nice to see a map of this for Subway. Remember when we talked about Subway, the number of Subways, they outnumber McDonald's. Probably be even harder to get away from a Subway, unfortunately. Here are those review questions, starting off with true, false. Remember, these you can download this PowerPoint from my Canvas homepage. I believe it's called Chapter 4 Q4 Review. As you can see all these questions and answers. Keep in mind as we start getting deeper into the book now, culture is just a small part of the overall AP unit. It covers 3 chapters of our book. Culture, language, and religion actually make up the entire Unit 3 according to the AP outline. They just call it culture. Ours it will be 3 chapters of the book. So as we start talking about these 3 chapters, keep in the back of your mind this is 1 unit according to the AP. Okay, take care. Talk to you soon.